Welcome, folks. I am Jaby Koay, and we're going to look at Cosmic Wonders. Sony made a huge SpiderMan mistake. And so, wow, that was a very dramatic voice I just gave y'all. So if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, bell icon, all notifications, and pretty please vote this up to let YouTube know you're enjoying what you're watching while you're subscribing and upvoting. Subscribe to Cosmic Wonder. There's a link in the description below for the video that we're about to watch together, you and I. We're gonna watch this video together. You can click on that link and give the original video an upvote and subscribe to Warren at the Cosmic Wonder from there. Okie dokie, thank you, Warren. Here we go. Sony made a huge Spider-Man mistake. When does Sony not make huge Spider-Man mistakes? Just kidding, JK, JK, JK. Just to give you all a heads up, I enjoy watching things in speed mode from time to time, so I might dial up and down the speed mode while watching this video. Here we go.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder, where we talk all things Marvel and MCU. I'm your host, Warren Thompson, and we also talk SPUMC, Sony Pictures of Marvel Characters. I don't think they call it that anymore. I think they came up with a new name, but they've switched the name so many times already that I just don't care to keep up anymore. We all know what it is, but
we're just trying to figure ourselves out. We don't know. We're experimenting. Maybe it's Sony Pictures Extended Universe. Maybe it's Sony Spider-Man Super Universe. You know, Spider-Man and Friends. Who knows? Hey, whatever sticks.
Example of what I believe is Sony's lack of a plan. I don't think they really know what direction they want to go with right now in terms
figuring
of
it out on the fly
universe, which is really what this video is about. I think that Sony has very recently made a pretty big Spider-Man mistake. Now, this mistake could be easily fixed, so there is hope here, but basically what I think Sony's very huge mistake is that they think people just flat out love Spider-Man no matter what. And yes, we love Spider-Man. We want more of Spider-Man, but here's the deal. Just because Spider-Man's in a movie or a show or a project doesn't mean we're just automatically going to love that movie, show, or project. It has to be good.
Does it? I mean, the movies tend to make money, and Sony keeps making them. Here's the thing. Sony is contractually obligated to continue making Spider-Man movies, otherwise they lose the rights to Spider-Man. That's why you keep seeing some kind of Spider-Man movie happen over and over again over at Sony. And I guess with Spider-Man films not being able to be cranked out fast enough, they gotta do these offshoot things like Venom and Morbius. Until we stop buying tickets to watch the movies, then yes, that theory actually is correct. As long as Spider-Man's in the movie, it's gonna make money, and it doesn't need to be good. I don't know how long that'll last. I don't know how long that will stand for that, but they have made many Transformers movies. And as long as there's a Transformer in the movie and all kinds of going on, they make $1 billion. You know, those movies make lots and lots of money. They made like 6 of them, didn't they? I think that people will just continue to deal with it as long as it's actually a Spider-Man movie. In fact, people were enraged that Spider-Man was removed from Morbius. So I didn't even watch the movie yet.
But this is where Sony's mistake comes in, where they just think that we just want Spider-Man and it'll be okay. But I'm going to tell you what I think Sony's thought process is in regards to Spider-Man and their Spider-Man universe, and how I think they could actually fix it, and how I think there could be some hope. And of course, if you love Marvel and want to stay up to date on all things Marvel, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest videos. Now, a couple things you need to know. One is that I love Marvel. All the shows that are coming up, Kraven the Hunter, Madam Web, the Spider-Woman movie, I have hope for all of these films. I really wanted to like Morbius. Unfortunately, I didn't, but I really wanted to. And it's not as terrible as people say, but it's not good. More on that in just a bit. But
I keep hearing that. From friends. I was at a screening just the other day, sitting next to a friend who's a movie critic, and she's like, it's not that bad. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's all right. And then the dude next to her, who knows my brother but doesn't know me, like we met that day, he's like, yeah, it's not that bad. It's all right. I'm like, that's still not a glowing review for the movie. It's not that bad. It's not a good review. That doesn't make me want to go out and spend my hard-earned money. Well, I have AMC, so I just have a monthly pass. It still doesn't motivate me to go out and give up 2 hours of my time to go watch this thing. It's like, then you got to deal with people. Someone's eating their candy too loud or their popcorn too loud. Damn, how much popcorn do you need, buddy? Like, you know, they got to deal with that. Like, what? It's not worth it. If it's not bad, it's got to be amazing. Like Spider-Man.
Before I start with Sony's big Spider-Man mistake, there is something that you need to know that has recently come out. And that is the director of Morbius, Daniel Espinosa, went on Twitter to do an Ask Me Anything where people asked if a Spider-Man does exist in the Venom / Morbius universe, which he confirmed they are the same universe. And his answer was yes, a Spider-Man does exist in that universe. He actually said, of course, in which they asked, well, which Spider-Man exists in this universe, and he said that it is his understanding that it'll be revealed soon. This is important to know because it's clear Sony has plans to introduce their own Spider-Man in their own universe, separate from the MCU. Now, Morbius wasn't good. It's not as terrible as some people are saying it out there, but it's not good. And the reason is because it's so chopped up. It seems like they really edited a lot of it. Now, I've been saying this for a few videos now. It was filmed over 3 years ago. It had about 2 years of delays, and a lot of things have happened in the meantime. But unfortunately, this led to Sony making a mistake. Sony saw Spider-Man No Way Home as a very, very big opportunity. They saw fans going crazy over Spider-Man No Way Home, going crazy about seeing Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. And yes, we loved it. We loved seeing the other 2 generations of Spider-Man join Tom Holland all on one big screen. It was fantastic to see Tobey and Andrew and Tom Holland together, but it was a fantastic movie. The movie was amazing and Kevin Feige was in charge, but here's what Sony did. They went, wow, everybody loves Spider-Man. Everybody loves Tobey and Andrew and Tom Holland. And they went, well, we can't fully have Tom Holland Spider-Man in our universe because he's in the MCU, but we can have Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and we can have Tobey Maguire Spider-Man cameo in some projects as well. So we can make Andrew Garfield, or another new Spider-Man if they want to do that, the main Spider-Man of our universe and have it completely separate from the MCU and do our own thing. People love Spider-Man, but that doesn't mean anything Spider-Man touches is going to be good. Just ask fans what they think about Spider-Man 3, which I actually do happen to like despite the general opinion of the fans, but also ask them what they think about TASM 1 or TASM 2. Now, these movies have grown their fan base and they've earned their respect over time, of course, and they're not by any means terrible movies, but they did get a lot of backlash at first and it took a while for them to gain that fan base.
I have a prediction. When Star Wars The Force Awakens came out, I was one of the few people who came off as a wet blanket going, it's actually not that good of a movie. And people were like mad at me. They're like, what's wrong with you? You're just a curmudgeon, blah, blah, blah. This is why it's amazing. I'm like, y'all just give it time and you'll have a different opinion. I guarantee in about a year or two, y'all are gonna have a different feeling. Now, maybe it wasn't a year or two, but sure enough, with time, people looked at Force Awakens and they looked at the whole trilogy and they're like, these movies aren't good. Now, obviously, you have people out there, 1 or 2 of you. All this to say, all this to ask you, do you think Spider-Man No Way Home will be received with the same glowing praise it had recently in about 5 years? Do you think it will possibly be looked at as a bad movie in about 5 years? I feel like it's possible we'll all look at Spider-Man No Way Home quite differently in about 5 years. Why? Because it's completely riding that nostalgia factor hard. And I don't know if that's going to be as impactful and meaningful to us even a year's time. Like a year or 2 years down the line, are we still going to be like, oh my God, that was so amazing? Or are we going to be like, you know, it was all right when you think about it. Once that happiness has completely worn off. You know what I'm saying? I'm putting that question out there. I'm not saying it's not going to be revered the same way. I'm asking what you feel like is going to happen.
I mean, there's a reason it was rebooted a 3rd time. So the point is that just because it's a Spider-Man project doesn't mean that it's going to be good. In all honesty, I actually thought Sony had a plan. The first time I watched Morbius and I saw the post-credit scene, I thought Sony might have a plan here, especially with the Venom Let There Be Carnage post-credit scene as well, but now I'm starting to think that they probably don't at this point in time. My thought process was Sony changed Morbius a lot and cut it up because Spider-Man No Way Home came out and changed their plans for the Spider-Man universe. So they cut scenes related to Spider-Man and the MCU out of their movie. And if you think about it, it makes sense. There was the picture of Spider-Man that said murderer over it, and this was most likely referring to Mysterio. They had Vulture in the actual movie originally, and then they took him out. Then they did the post-credit scene to try and explain what was actually happening with Spider-Man, and at first I thought, okay, this is very sloppily executed, but I see what they're getting at. I see the plan in the works. But now I'm not so sure. I think their plan was simply, let's have our own Spider-Man and do a Sinister Six film eventually. I don't think this is much of a plan, unfortunately. And I think it's shown by the first post-credit of Morbius that just makes 0 sense. Like, it just makes 0 sense. They went, well, we need this character in our universe, so let's just use Doctor Strange change the spell and bring him into this universe all of a sudden, because he's connected to Spider-Man. And if you haven't seen the post-credit, I'm avoiding saying any type of names or anything like that. But then it gets even more confusing in the second post-credit scene, where you have this character now in the universe interacting with Morbius saying, hey, let's be good guys. What do you mean let's be good guys? And then all of a sudden he says, let's go after Spider-Man. Well, what did Spider-Man do in this universe? Right? Who is the Spider-Man in this universe? Because in the old universe, you were defending Spider-Man. You wouldn't even give up Peter Parker's true identity. You were helping him in a way at the end. You didn't hate him. And now all of a sudden it's like, hey, let's go after Spider-Man. Doesn't really make sense, and Morbius didn't really offer us any explanation of what this universe of Spider-Man could be like. And again, I think it's because Sony really doesn't have any idea right now, unfortunately. And to top it all off, Sony teased the heck out of us with the Venom Let There Be Carnage post-credit scene, putting Eddie Brock, Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock, and Venom in the MCU, only to kind of immediately, in the post-credits for Spider-Man No Way Home, bring him back to the Sony universe. Again, they seemingly just don't know which direction they want to go in their own Spider-Man universe. I think this is a really big mistake on Sony's part, just simply going with the fact that people love Spider-Man. However, there is some hope. They do have a lot of cool projects coming up, like Madam Web, Kraven the Hunter, a Spider-Woman movie, another Venom movie as well.
Maybe Sony's attitude is like, if we don't know, they don't know. If we don't know, and they don't know, it keeps everybody on their toes. And everyone's just clamoring for some answers, for an understanding of what's coming next. It's all a mystery, like Mysterio. Warren's CW light in the background, that shit is sick. I love that light. It looks so cool. Anyway.
Do you have a good foundation to be able to build an entire Spider-Man universe off of if you wanted to include like Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, because I don't think introducing a brand new Spider-Man would be good. I think that it could work and there is hope. However, I do believe that they should at least consult with Marvel Studios. Now, they already do consult with Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios, but they've shown in the past that they don't always take the advice given to them. I think they need to take the advice of Kevin Feige. Clearly, he knows how to run a connected cinematic universe. He's been doing this for over 10 years.
I feel like the internet is collectively saying this.
Than anybody. So if Sony wants to kind of bend their ear to Kevin Feige and actually take the advice that he gives them, I think we could actually have a pretty decent Spider-Man universe over at Sony, especially if it is indeed Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. But they have to listen to Marvel Studios at least a little bit and not ignore advice from the man, Kevin Feige. Now, Sony doesn't really seem to have a plan right now, but it looks like they are trying to come up with somewhat of a plan. They did tease the Sinister Six in that Morbius post-credit scene, so hopefully that actually builds up and doesn't just happen like in the next movie. They need to introduce the Spider-Man in the universe, have a few films with them in it, have a few films with the villains in it, and make them true villains, not like, hey, let's do some good, but hey, let's also get Spider-Man. No, make them true villains. Make Morbius a true villain. I think will be a lot better that way. Vulture, Kraven the Hunter, and anybody else they want to bring in, Venom, etc. Make them true villains and make them go after Spider-Man after a few movies of introducing everybody. We could have a pretty killer movie there. But let me know what you think about all of this in the comments down below. Do you think there's hope for the Spider-Man universe over at Sony?
No. I don't know who's in control of what. All I know is Sony is inherently a Japanese company. There are certain attitudes that might be employed, it being a Japanese company. I don't know. I feel like what I'm saying, even though it might have merit, might be perceived in a way that could be misconstrued. The only way I can try to make sense of what I'm intending to imply here is if you look at Nintendo, which is a Japanese company. Although, when you look at Sony PlayStation, which is also Sony, they do a pretty good job there. I don't know what to make of all this, yo. I mean, it seems so obvious to everybody what Sony should be doing. You got the guy right there, but maybe they've had these talks and they just can't seem to hash it out because they go, okay, Disney says, you want Kevin Feige, then you got to give us this much. And Sony's like, hell no. All right, we'll just continue making bad movies until you give us a better deal, because we can just keep making these movies and people will just keep watching them until you give us a better deal. It's entirely possible that that's the case. I don't know. It all comes down to money at the end of the day. That's the only reason not to do a particular thing or continue doing a particular thing is just money. Unless there is a reason to push Sony a different direction, they will continue to do things a particular way because money. Maybe something is happening with Kevin Feige and Disney or Marvel where, you know, they don't want to give up Kevin Feige's time for this to have influence over this because of, I don't know. Something with money. That seems to be the most logical explanation to me. Because Kevin Feige, he's obviously a very, very smart guy. He's praised by the internet everywhere. Like everybody. Even at DC, they're like, that Kevin Feige. I don't like Marvel. But that Kevin Feige knows what he's doing. No shade at DC people, okay? Because I grew up with DC Comics, so please don't think I'm this like Marvel shill. Like, remember when it looked like DC was like literally trying to catch up to Marvel, and it just was this huge blunder? It seems like that's what's happening with Sony right now. It's like, didn't you see what happened with DC? Like, you're literally doing the same stuff. You're just aimlessly making these things and hoping that, like, you just keep throwing stuff at the wall and hopefully something sticks. Which it kind of does, because the Venom movies are objectively bad, but they're fun. And so they keep making them and they keep making money. I don't have a soapbox, so I'm gonna walk away from this now. You guys, thanks so much for hanging out. I would love to know what you think in the comments below. Your theories on why and what and who and where and when. And how. Thanks so much. I'm Jaby Koay. Peace out.